Hello and welcome to Tech 24. I'm Rebecca Bowring. Coming up in the programme, they smuggled satellite phones into Libya. Now they want to give Syrian protesters freedom of expression. We meet Telecomics, the humanitarian hackers who hope NGOs can help them open channels to the oppressed. And from IBM stat machines to Babala's connected rackets, we'll take you behind the technology scenes at the French Open tennis tournament. First, in a year when hacker collectives have grabbed the headlines for bringing down the websites of the CIA, Home Office and Elysee, another group of online pirates say they're trying to build, not destroy. Enter Telecomics, the self-avowed white hat hackers. French members of the movement met NGOs last weekend at Paris's Porte de Versailles exhibition centre. There they showed off a remote-controlled drone that they've designed to carry a mobile phone or other recording device. The idea is to empower protesters to continue getting their message out. One Telecomics hacker told us they hope to work with NGOs to distribute the technology.
There are definitely things we can do together for a simple reason, because these days the only means of getting around centralised censorship is the internet. And those who are competent at doing so are the ones we call hackers.
Eric Olander joins me here in the studio. To be completely honest, Eric, I saw this drone. It's not ready to fly yet, but it does kind of represent their philosophy, which is to build something, and it's not to hack just for the challenge of hacking, but to enable people to have a voice.
Well, that's what you talked about, white hat, and I think it's important to kind of explain the different flavors of hackers that are out there. So we have white hat, which are people who generally do things for good. That is, they don't necessarily hack to steal money or to penetrate systems for the point of causing destruction, but to actually do something positive. Then there are black hats, and black hats are what we've seen in the past year or so, who go into attack systems. This is oftentimes associated with organized crime. A lot of black hats coming out of places like Russia and China and even the United States and other countries like that. And they're really the more sinister kind. Now then you have the gray. And this is one of those subjects where gray, because when you work with NGOs and you work with hackers, you always have to be worried about the unintended consequences. Sure, the idealism of opening up the internet, but once you open up the internet, how people use it, that becomes something that is subject to question.
And is this a collaboration that can bear fruit, or does it actually politicise NGOs? Do they want to work with hackers? Because it's a stigmatised term after all.
Hacker is a loaded word, and NGOs is also a very vague word. There are all flavors of NGOs, just as there are all flavors of hackers out there. Now, NGOs traditionally have not been the most technologically savvy or advanced group of organizations. So for them to actually reach out into these hackers, and whatever you want to call them, I hate calling them hackers because it's so ambiguous. But at the end of the day, we don't know what will happen. It's a very early art, and we don't actually know what will happen, which is why I say watch out for the unintended consequences from these kinds of partnerships.
Talk to us, though, about some of the ways that hackers can help NGOs. What expertise can they channel? Well,
certainly getting a message out, and that's very, very important. So we've had this situation in the Arab Spring last year when internet was shut off, when communication of activists is limited. Also, think about it when you use sites like Facebook, you have to use your own identity. Hackers can really help in masking somebody's identity. Think back to Wael Ghonim, who started, of course, all the events that happened in Egypt with his Facebook page. One of the things that really caused him a lot of problems was the fact that he had to reveal his identity. Hackers can really help in this way of masking and protecting the identity of individuals.
You were talking about how some NGOs are not particularly tech savvy, but there are some out there, aren't there, that are blazing a trail. Tell us about them.
Well, there are some, and we've seen some very innovative experiments. There's one group that's actually doing an experiment with the United States State Department to put internet in a box, and that's when you have no internet access or internet access is monitored or even turned off. This internet in a box can really help as well. You're also looking at technology helping get the message out in terms of fundraising, awareness, using social media to raise awareness about a particular cause, or in fact to help raise money. These are all ways that NGOs are working in this space. But again, there's a lot of room for kind of distance here.
Potentially for these collaborations?
But there is potential for these collaborations, but there's also potential for these collaborations to go dreadfully wrong. Remember, once you have net access, good guys and bad guys can get in there, and there's a lot of concern about that as well.
It's always a double-edged sword. Thanks for it. Stay with us here on Tech 24. Test 24's next. The French Open tennis tournament isn't just composed of courts and spectator stands, it's also a mini amusement park full of diversions offering another way to appreciate the sport. This year, technology partner IBM has opened its stall to the public for the first time. I went along to the Roland-Garros Lab 2050. A few steps away from the live play lies the tennis of the future. Here the action served up is virtual. The tent is packed with activities for budding Federers and Sharapovas. Among the exhibitors, IBM, partner of the tournament for 27 years. They showcase the technology behind every game. This screen shows how fast the ball is moving.
This is the service speed, broadcast from center court.
Data is collected by on-court technicians armed with these little boxes. There's also an app with player information, live scores, videos, and a digital tour of the grounds. To produce all these statistics, IBM's team is busying away behind the scenes. Their newest innovation, the keys to the match. Engineers have collated 7 years of data, 39 million points won and lost, to determine the pattern of each player's performance and work out who's most likely to win.
So here we see that in the Djokovic-Starace match, the system has defined that the three criteria, the three keys that are very important for Djokovic to win are here. The first key is to win more than 49% of rallies with 2 or fewer shots. So he has to be very strong on very short rallies.
The prediction is 98% accurate when a player is reaching all 3 keys. Sounds like it's time to challenge a star, if only in cyberspace. From wannabe Nadals to the man himself, the Spanish champ recently put a prototype racket through its paces. The Play and Connect, made by French company Babola, captures data about how you play to analyse live or after the match on your tablet or smartphone. You have one such electronic racket with you, Eric?
Now, when we thought about tennis rackets and the technology in tennis rackets, usually was in the carbon fibers and in the racket itself. Now, what Babola has done is they've dipped into the video game world. This is yet another example and a very exciting example of how video games are kind of creeping into all aspects of life. So what they've done is they've put in the little cone right here a little device, and this is from a company called Movia here in Grenoble, France. And what this does is it collects all sorts of data. It collects where you hit the ball on the racket. It collects data about your stroke. It collects data on all sorts of things about your swing. You plug this in via Bluetooth or a wireless connection into your computer, and it gives you all of this data to help you, the hack like me, on the weekends kind of become better. So this is really, again, something that comes out of the video game world because it's the same company that does the Nintendo Wii movement gesture type of games as well.
And this is great for tennis coaches everywhere, I guess, to compare and contrast how players play.
Absolutely, just to actually see, because a lot of tennis coaches, what we've done, and my own experience in this space as well, is you work on a student's form and where they hit the ball, and you can generally tell where a student is hitting the ball, but here you'll be able to profile exactly what the student is doing, where on the racket they're actually hitting it. So if you're not hitting it what's called the sweet spot, which is right in the middle, then you can identify to a student exactly where they're doing it, all through this little nice device.
5 years in the making, due to come to market next year.
Next year, between 200 and 500 euros, and that, of course, will depend also on the racket. So this is still in the dream phase. It's a prototype, but it looks like it's going in that direction to make it to market.
And it's another reminder of how technology can make us better athletes.
And sports, yeah, all over.
Thanks very much for all of that. Eric Olander, thank you to you for watching this edition of Tech24. Get in touch with us via the social network, the URL coming up in the corner of your screen. And, of course, you can follow us on Twitter at TechF24. We end this week with an invention that can make you, well, an inventor yourself. Makey is a kit that connects everyday objects, turning them into a touchpad that works with the internet. Anything from a banana to a cat is up for grabs. To find out more about the campaign, log on to kickstarter.com.